everybody, and thank you, Lorna, for introducing me. Today this session is, just get this out the way. This session is going to have a wee look at houseplants, basically how these outdoor plants are now indoor plants, some of the common problems we experience looking after them, and especially just now during the winter months, our houseplants can become a wee bit more problematic. And then we're going to have a look at a few of my suggestions for easy to care for plants for different rooms in the house. So we are a nation obsessed with growing, and indoor growing of houseplants in particular has rocketed in recent years. Now, I think we probably all agree that COVID most certainly fueled interest in growing houseplants. And RHS study, a Royal Horticultural Society study in 2020 found that 34% of houseplant owners valued them even more during lockdown, as plants gave them a sense of purpose in their home. Another study commissioned by the mental health charity Mind in 2022. So 43% of the 1,000 people surveyed saying that taking care of houseplants had a positive impact on their overall well-being. And as gardeners ourselves, whether that's gardening outdoors in the ground or enjoying tabletop activities at the kitchen or out on the patio, I'm sure we all fully understand and appreciate the many benefits of nurturing and tending plants, whether they are outside or inside. Another study commissioned by Miracle Grow found that the average Brit buys 2 new houseplants per month, but it's the younger generations, the Gen Z and the millennials, who spend most on their houseplants, buying an average 4 new plants per month. Now, this statistic certainly surprised me, as I would traditionally consider the hobby as one that our older retired generation enjoyed. But further research powered by myself and Google suggests that it's the millennials and the Gen Z who are the new leaders in houseplant keeping, along with the rise of influencers. That is a new age word, and in particular plant influencers who have turned houseplants into a trend of their own. In August 2024, Instagram had captured 8.5 million posts of indoor plants compared to its 2.1 million in 2020. That says a lot. Health and wellness are really important to the millennial generation, which makes plants a natural draw then. Plants are known to make healthier spaces for people to live and work in by helping to purify the air, boost mood, and in the workplace, productivity, and probably at home as well, will be more productive. And of course, they're known to lower stress levels. Younger couples are starting their families a little later, perhaps in part because millennials love to travel, and houseplants tend to do a lot better than pets or children when you leave them alone for days or weeks, which could perhaps be another reason for houseplant popularity amongst the younger people. But despite this enthusiasm for houseplants, the previously mentioned Miracle Grow study found that over 50% of houseplant owners or parents, a houseplant parent if you're a younger person, have killed on average 5 plants accidentally. And herein lies my truth. I am part of that statistic. I am more of an outdoor gardening kind of gal, loving large trees and shrubs. And although I do have houseplants, as I like having greenery in the house with me, I don't overindulge myself in activity. And I have sent well more than 5 houseplants to their final resting place. But all is well. The reason, though, houseplant keeping is tricky is simply because houseplants are not designed to live indoors. We have been growing plants indoors for centuries, and yet more than 50% of us are still not entirely successful at it. We have 5,000-year-old records of ancient Egyptians bringing palms and ferns indoors to add colour to their rather plain living environments. And as centuries passed, along with the passing of plants, I assume, travel and exploring increased. Christopher Columbus landed in the Bahamas in 1492, having stopped off apparently at Canary Islands. And since then, exotic plants have been making their way to us to live in, well, less than tropical conditions. Google tells me that flowering houseplants are our nation's most popular choice, but the most money is actually spent on purchasing these exotic palm plants. Jump forward a few centuries, the 17th century, when an agricultural authority, Sir Hugh Platt, published The Garden of Eden in 1652, reporting on cultivating plants indoors, in particular in greenhouses, for the purpose of housing these exotic plants. By the Victorian era, the wealthy all wanted to show off their status, and they built large glass houses. The bigger the glass house, the richer they were, and they loved to show off their wealth. Heating systems, along with floor-to-ceiling glass, enabled better growing conditions for the far-travelled plants that returned home from overseas adventures. Fast forward to today, with our modern homes that are warmer, less drafty, but to a Canary Island palm or a South American pineapple plant, they're still not ideal. Hence the difficulty that many of us experience in keeping our houseplants alive. So, unless you have that fabulous heated Victorian greenhouse, you're going to have to be like myself and accept that not all the lovely leaf plants available in the garden centres and online are suitable for our homes. Attempting to grow plants in less than ideal conditions will possibly contribute to that death toll statistic. This time of year, winter time especially, can cause problems due to limited natural light, extended artificial heating and dry air, and believe it or not, overwatering. And I think the overwatering is probably because we actually are spending more time indoors just now, and we're kind of looking for things to do. And watering the plant is something we think we should be doing. The next few slides, I'm going to look at the most common signs of a poorly plant, with some information and some of the really good photographs I've used being credited to the Royal Horticulture Society and the website Hortology. So, light. Too much direct sunlight or low light conditions can cause houseplants to fail, and each plant has its own light level requirement. So, too little light. Lanky growths and floppy leaves can be a sign that the plant is not getting enough light. This plant here pictured shows the lankiness. Leaves can lose their sharpness of colour, and any variegations, like a sort of green and white mottled leaf, may revert back to its plain green colour. And although dropping leaves occasionally is normal, shedding too many leaves over a short space of time is also a sign of not enough light available to the particular plant. So how can we try and remedy this? In the winter months in particular, ensure plants are on a south-facing window to maximise on any available day and sunlight that we do get. Use a damp cotton pad to wipe dust off of leaves, will also allow more sunlight to reach the leaf's surface. Some of us might recall science at school learning about photosynthesis. Plants need to capture energy from sunlight to help make energy for its growth. And of course, the process of cleaning leaves with a cotton wool pad is also a very therapeutic activity in itself. And of course, we can have too much light. Too much direct sunlight, especially during the summer months, can cause leaf scorch, like what this shows on the rubber plant here. The leaf will appear dry, actually looks crispy, doesn't it? And lackluster in appearance. The leaf may shrivel up, go all curly at the ends. So what we can do is move the plant further away from the direct sunlight. So for example, we would move it off of a south or west facing windowsill where it's being exposed to sunlight for much of the day, especially during the summer months. And if it's a shade-loving plant, it definitely needs to be moved to a north or east-facing window, cutting out all direct sunlight. Another problem is incorrect watering. Interestingly, as I've said, it's during the winter months when we're probably indoors looking for things to do that plants get overwatered. Common signs for overwatering plants can include wet compost. Nearly all houseplants do best when the top surface, around 1 to 2 centimetres, is allowed to dry out completely between waterings. Now get your finger and stick it into the compost. If the top centimetre is nice and dry, you know, like the compost is dry round about your finger, that's great. And if you can feel damp moisture about 2 centimetres down, that's good. Leave it another couple of days and then give it a drink of water. Don't leave houseplants standing in a saucer of water, as this can suffocate the roots, leading to yellowing of both old and new leaves, root rot, fungus and molds. If you do spot fungus and molds, isolate the plant from any plant neighbours, remove any damaged leaves and stems, and allow it to recuperate in a place with improved air circulation, and really limit the watering. Allow it to almost dry out, bone dry, and then reintroduce watering once it's started to perk up a wee bit. To check the plant's root system, remove the root ball. That's like the roots all wrapped around into the compost. Squeeze the root ball out from the pot. Healthy roots will be whitish in colour, and if you touch them, they'll be, you know, firm to touch, and you'll be able to sort of like bend them a wee bit without too much happening to them. But rotten roots will be really soft and possibly mushy to touch. If the roots are rotten, then sadly it is time for the plant to be retired. So when we are watering, it's good practice to water over a sink, over a basin, allowing, you know, pour water on top of the compost and let it to all drain out of the pot of the compost back into the basin, and then scoop more water out of the basin and water the compost again before, and then let the water all drain out. Sit it on the draining board of the sink and let any excess water drain out. That is the compost fully saturated, and now you can set it back inside if you've got it sitting in a pot or on top of a saucer. Little spots might eke out, that's okay. You just don't want it sitting in water. You're just basically suffocating the roots. Again, a wilting plant might seem to many people that it's drying out, it's scorched. But if it does appear to be wilting, don't automatically assume that it is gas into water, because wilting can be a sign of the plant being drowned of water, and basically this is it collapsing. And by leaving it sitting in a saucer of water, you're not allowing the plant compost to ever dry out, and having dry compost allows air to get into the compost and the roots can breathe. Remember, roots have got to breathe, plants have got to breathe the same way as we do. And of course, we can water incorrectly by underwatering plants. Common signs for underwatering houseplants can include wilting leaves and yellowed or curled leaves, and especially ones at the base of a plant that's too dry. If the plant's dry, there's leaves closer to the bottom that will dry off and fall off first of all. And again, to check for dry compost, insert your finger into the compost, a good 2 to 3 centimetres down. If you can't feel any moisture, then the plant needs more regular watering than what it's currently getting. So to make sure your plants get enough water, get into that habit that I've already mentioned, watering over a sink, and saturate the compost in the pot until it's evenly moist, allowing it to drain away on the side draining board once it's been watered. Then wait until the top 2 centimetres is dry again. Again, always allow the top part of the compost to dry out before you water it again. And of course, you repeat the watering process. Now, as I say, it's hard to say exactly how much water each plant needs because everybody's house is completely different. My living room might be warmer or cooler than yours. It might be brighter or less bright than yours. But the best way to check when you get your new plant is, just monitor it every couple of days, check it, see if it needs more water, up the watering. If it's still too wet, if it's too wet to begin with, you need to cut back the watering and work it out from there. And as I said, plants need a period of dryness to allow their roots to breathe in between watering. If the roots are constantly submerged in water, they effectively drown. This period of dry compost allows the roots to breathe and develop a stronger root system. And of course, there's a fine balance between over and underwatering, but with a little bit of attention and time given to the task, you will quickly pick up on your individual plant watering needs. Temperature, I just jumped to temperature, the wrong temperature. It can be too warm, it can be too cold. Common signs for it being too warm for a plant include the leaves wilting, perhaps being bleached by the sun, and being crispy to the touch. All of these suggest heat stress and is common in very hot rooms in the height of summer, such as sunrooms, conservatories, and south-facing rooms with full-length windows. The converse is, if plants are kept in rooms that are too cold, such as unheated rooms like porches and conservatories over winter months, this can result in blackened leaves, leaf drop, and whole plant collapse. Humidity is the amount of water vapour in the atmosphere. Low humidity or dry air is created in our centrally heated homes as we humans crave for warmth, especially during the winter months when our heating is on for longer. This becomes more of a problem. Signs that your plants may be suffering from low humidity and losing moisture from the leaves will be the leaves shrivelling up, brown tips or edges on the leaves, and dropping leaves. And of course, different plants require different levels of humidity. The Boston fern is a plant, this is what's pictured here. The Boston fern is a plant that is native to tropical jungles and forests and therefore loves high humidity, so will grow best in a steamy bathroom or kitchen. If the bathroom is not available, mist the plant regularly and set the pot on top of a saucer of damp pebbles. The water from the pebbles will evaporate in the warm air around the plant, creating a local, more humid environment for this particular plant. Cacti, succulents, and palms all enjoy low humidity and will perish in the steamy bathroom as mould can develop on the leaves, along with cacti and succulents suffering from rotting stems. And these are signs that the air in this environment is too moist for that particular plant. These type of plants like a dry room, like our living room, or a conservatory. Bugs and disease. We're all very familiar with bugs and diseases outdoors, and indoor plants are susceptible to insects and disease problems just in the same way. And like outdoors, the best method is preventative. Keeping the plant healthy and living in its preferred environment will deter many of these issues. Insects such as mealybugs and red spider mite are sapsuckers, and they will affect the plant vigour and general appearance. Pick off small numbers if you see them, but larger infestations will probably need pesticide treatment or you'll just lose plant. Red spider mite can occur in warm, dry conditions and mealybugs in plants that are kept too moist. Make sure and quarantine any infected plants before reintroducing them back to their neighbours once you're confident they are rid of their unwanted visitors. Grey mould and powdery mildew can be caused by poor air circulation, especially with plants that are kept overly moist. Remove all damaged plant parts and increase natural ventilation, which will increase fresh airflow, replenish the gases taken up by the plant, and help prevent fungal disease. Now, the general growing environment of plants is every bit as important as getting the correct watering and daylight levels. Whilst many plants need to be close to a window for daylight, sunlight, and a windowsill would appear to be perfect for this, be aware of the cold air that can be trapped between the window and a closed curtain during the night. Many plants will struggle with these extremes of temperatures. That trapped air between the window and the curtain becomes really, really cold at night time. And have a wee try tonight if you're, once you've been in the house for a wee while and the curtains are drawn, go and open up the curtains and stick your hand in that area, and you will feel a definite difference in temperature. So be aware of that. Don't have your plants trapped in that cold void. And this picture here, this was a picture I took of the supermarket the other day. It shows a trolley of houseplants at the exit to the supermarket, and the automatic doors were opening, shutting all day long, and this was just causing the coldest of drafts in the middle of winter. So do we look at the plants, do we closer look, and most of the plants were desperately asking for help as the draft was causing excessive air movement around the plants, causing them to lose more moisture than they could take up. And we know we need windows to be open to let in the fresh air for good ventilation, but just be aware of them causing drafts. And if they are, if the plant is too close to the drafty opening, you're just going to have to move it further away. Direct sources of heat, such as radiators and wood burners, make sure and keep plants away from them, as plants will suffer from scorched leaves. Also, avoid splashing hard tap water over plant leaves. When you're watering them, always water into the compost. Watering over the plant's leaves can cause calcium deposit markings, which in turn can become crusty and cause leaf damage. It won't kill the plant, but the plant's not going to look very attractive, and you'll end up having to cut all those leaves. And lastly, thinking about the general environment, be aware of cleaning aerosols, like if you're using polish on furniture roundabout or a spray for cleaning the windowsills. Be aware of anything landing on the leaves which can cause marking and potentially kill the plant. Houseplants will quickly use up the nutrients available to them. Nutrients, it's like our vitamins, basically. They need plant food, and it comes in the shape of nutrients. And when we buy a house plant, it comes in its block compost, and there's nutrients, there's plant food in there. But the house plants will quickly use up these nutrients that are available to them in the compost. So it's good practice to top dress. That's apply a fresh layer of compost on top of the existing compost, because it does break down and it does wear down. So apply a fresh layer on top of the existing compost every spring, because that's the start of the growing season when your house plant will benefit from that extra boost of food available to it. So that's spring, at the start of the plant's active growing season. Some plants are slower growing than others, but all will eventually outgrow their pot and need potting into a bigger size to support their roots to grow and develop healthily. So the roots need more space to grow, and the plant needs more compost available to it, so that there's more nutrients available to the plant. And also, the more compost, the right amount of compost available to the plant, means that the right amount of water is being held in the compost and being redistributed to the plant when you're watering it. There are specific houseplant composts available, and plant food available for houseplants, and even get particular specific types for plants such as orchids, cacti, if you grow lemon trees and things like that, citrus fruits, you can buy specific compost for them. And it's important that these houseplant composts are used, and don't use garden soil or garden compost, as this is a surefire way of introducing bugs and potentially disease into your houseplant collection. So, choosing the right plant for the right place is vital to the plant living a happy life. A floral marketing study in 2022 reported that 37% of consumers consider buying the pot that their houseplant comes in over the plant itself. So that's they like the look of the pot. If it comes with a lovely ceramic pot, they choose the pot because they like the look of the pot and they take the plant with it. So it's a bit no wonder if many of us are being influenced by the decorative appearance of the pot alone. It's no wonder that quite a few of us are involuntarily killing so many plants each year. And of course, eye-catching, and this stunning coconut palm tree, it is beautiful, and I would love to grow one. Will make a striking specimen in your south-facing room as it loves bright light. However, when further investigation into its care, you'll learn that watering requires to use warm water, and the compost is always to be kept moist but not soggy, and suggested limited watering, but at least twice a week, with the warning never to overwater. Temperature needs to be a constant, cosy 20 to 24 degrees Celsius, and it will not tolerate anything below 18 degrees. Oh, and it hates drafts. The coconut palm does like high humidity, so it would be good in a kitchen. But all told, I love the idea of this plant being in my kitchen living area, but I know I can't meet its desired temperatures, and I know that I would fail on its very strict watering regime. So I'll not be treating myself to one of these, but there are still lots of plants to choose from that are less high maintenance. And with the power of the internet available to us, there is a huge amount of information regarding helping you to choose the right plant for the place you want it, and guidance on individual plant care. My go-to recommendations for online help are the Royal Horticultural Society, Gardener's World and Hortology. I especially like Hortology, and they're based in Cumbria, because I find their website really helpful. You can apply lots of filters, such as which room you'd like the plant for, what size you want it to go to, different things like that. And each houseplant page has its own individual care guide, and it's really thorough. And of course, many places that sell houseplants have the plants labelled, sharing key information about their care. So telling us if it likes bright light or if it prefers shady light. And on the back of the label, it even gives you little tips about watering and particular tips. One being the Boston Fern. I didn't realise that they don't like the leaves being played with, touched too often. So that was the tip that I picked up off of one of these labels. So definitely have a read at the label. Take the time to read it, to check the plant is the plant for the place that you have in mind. So the next few slides that I'm going to look at are my shortlisted houseplant suggestions. I'm looking at plants that are easy doers when kept in their preferred growing environment. And first up is the kitchen, and I have a Chinese money plant growing in my kitchen, and it enjoys the high humidity on my brightest windowsill in the kitchen, and it can tolerate cooler temperatures because I don't have the heating on the kitchen at night time once I'm finished cooking. I like it especially on the windowsill, where I can admire its unusually flat circular leaves, and it's a wee bit of a talking point as well. And the other plant in my kitchen is peace lily. It can enjoy a really cosy kitchen and high humidity. So if you are living and working from home in your kitchen and you've got the heating on for longer during the daytime, your peace lily will do well there. Mine sits on a west facing window, and the brighter its location, the more often it will produce those lovely white flowery spathes that it does. It's a very tall and graceful plant, and it, to my mind, oozes calm. So perhaps it's perfectly named as the peace lily. Living rooms, avoid plants that need high humidity and consider their light requirements, as plants are often chosen for this room to fill an empty corner, which may prove to be just too shady for them. Palms add architectural interest to our indoors and are a brilliant antidote to the technology that now overfills our living room spaces. This wee plant here is a parlour palm. It was popular with Victorians and is still one of the most bought plants to this day. Its slender arching stems fill a corner beautifully, and it can tolerate low light levels, so it's fine in a corner of a room, and is undemanding of humidity levels, watering and temperatures, making it one of the most perfect plants as an easy to do housemate. My second choice for a living room would be the spider plant. It is tough as old boots, tolerating fluctuating temperatures, making it a super choice for a living room. Perhaps if it's only heated a couple of hours in the evening and quite cool during the daytime, it won't mind that at all. But to maintain its bright green leaves with its wee striking cream strip down the middle, avoid direct sunlight. You'll see the two pictures here of spider plants. The one on the left is one that sits in, it's getting too much sunlight and it's a bit anemic looking, whereas the wee one to the right is much more emerald green in colour, and that's because it's getting diffused light. They don't they're not bothered about humidity, but they will love you for the occasional misting. And spider plants are known for their ability to readily create baby plants. So your home could be filled with spider plants before you know it. And they'll literally grow anywhere in the house. Bathrooms. The Boston fern is another favourite that's stood the test of time from the Victorian era. It doesn't like cold drafts, but loves it hot and humid, like where it grows in the wild in the humid forests of South America through Mexico to the West Indies. If you want and you've got the space, you could group it with other plants to increase its humidity, or sit it on the pebbles that I mentioned earlier on. And it will thrive in any light location, but prefers a wee bit of sunlight every so you could move it about every once a month, give it a sunny location and move it back to the bathroom. The ZZ plant, I'm not even going to attempt to say its proper Latin name, we'll just stick with the ZZ plant. This is another great, well-to-do plant, but I've chosen it for the bathroom because it's tolerant of low temperatures, fluctuating humidity, and lower light levels. So really, this plant would do well in colder, less frequently used bathrooms, perhaps a guest bathroom if you're one of them. And it even does well on a north-facing window. Conservatories and south-facing rooms with floor-to-ceiling windows and doors can heat up to almost unbearable temperatures during the summer months, even here in Scotland. 18 to 21 degrees Celsius is the magic range of temperatures for most houseplants. So plants kept in conservatories must be tolerant of heats in excess of this. Some conservatories have recorded 70 degrees during the height of summertime. So these plants must be capable of coping with these warm temperatures during the daytime, and then of course in the evening they drop down at night time And in the winter time, our conservatories are pretty cool as well. And this is where we cue the cacti and the succulents. They hail from arid, dry regions where rainfall might be a deluge only once a year, and night temperatures fall in extreme to daytime temperatures. And this helps make them tolerant of the extreme conditions of growing in a conservatory environment. Always allow these plants to dry out completely between watering. And in the winter time, it's recommended that they're not actually watered at all. Let them do their own thing between November, end of February, start watering them again in March time. They really appreciate a dormant winter period. This lack of water, this dormant period, combined with the drop in temperatures, promotes flower bud formation, and cactus produce some of the most amazing flowers ever. Most cacti and succulents can tolerate temperatures as cool as 10 degrees centigrade, so they should do fine in our conservatories in the winter time. I just had to show you these pictures. Some cactus plants will be amongst the most bold and spectacular, yet they produce the most delicate of flowers. I just love these wee pictures here. They are so dinky, beautiful. And a cool dining room. The Christmas cactus is native to the coastal mountains and forests of Brazil, unlike its arid living cactus cousin we've just spoken about. It enjoys a higher humidity and temperatures around 18 to 24 degrees, but requires a dormant period for 2 months and temperatures as cool as 12 degrees to stimulate flower bud development. So while it might not love year-round life in the cool dining room, it will certainly benefit from a couple of months in there over autumn time to help have it flowering again in time for Christmas. Other plants for cool rooms include mother-in-law's tongue or the snake plant, which is incredibly hardy, tolerating low temperatures down to 10 degrees, low light levels, low humidity, and infrequent watering. Because let's face it, I don't have a separate dining room, but my sister has, and she never uses it. So any plant in there has got to survive for weeks without a visit. The other plant is the wandering dude, which will thrive anywhere between 10 to 24 degrees, but its growth will be much slower in cooler temperatures. It tolerates all light levels, but diffused light promotes its wonderful silver, purple, and green foliage. And although tolerant to all levels of humidity, standing on a tray of misty pebbles will add to its enjoyment of life. And both these plants would ultimately do well in most house environments because they are so tolerant of most conditions. So that's my short list of suggestions of easy to do plants for the home, but there is a wealth of choice out there. Do your research and you can have a room full or office full or activity room full of plants adding colour and style with their large or small leaves, plain or variegated, tall plants, trailing plants, some with flowers, and like a garden outdoors, your indoor collection can stimulate the senses. So gather a collection of plants and gather your group together around the table and have a session handling houseplants. This can support cognitive, emotional, physical, and social outcomes. Just wonder at the curious leaf shapes, touch and describe the different textures of the leaves, but watch out for the prickly cactus. And of course, several houseplants are easy to propagate, so a further activity can be planned, creating even more houseplants to share around. To learn more about the benefits of houseplants, have a wee look at our fact sheets. One of our fact sheets, Indoor Plants and Wellbeing. It's available to download from the Trellis website. The fact sheet looks at the benefits of green views indoors and how plants can help purify air and reduce dust levels. So what's not to like about that particular benefit?